You've probably been told you're not the creative type. Maybe you've watched other people come up with ideas effortlessly, while you sit there feeling like your mind is blank. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that creativity is something you either have or you don't like, a gift handed out at birth, and you just weren't in line that day. But here's what nobody tells you. Creativity isn't a personality trait. It's not about being spontaneous or artistic or having some magical spark. It's a process. And the reason you feel uncreative isn't because your brain is broken. It's because you've been trying to force it to work in a way it was never designed to work. Your brain doesn't generate ideas on command. It generates them when the conditions are right. And once you understand how those conditions work, you realize that creativity isn't about talent. It's about environment, timing, and giving your mind permission to do what it already knows how to do. When you sit down to be creative, your brain goes into performance mode. You start monitoring yourself. You ask if this is good enough, if it's original, if it even makes sense. And the moment you do that, you activate the part of your brain that judges, evaluates, and shuts things down before they even form. That part of the brain is great for logic and decision-making, but it's the enemy of creativity. Creativity doesn't come from analysis. It comes from association, connecting things that don't obviously belong together. And that happens when your mind is relaxed, not when it's under pressure. Your best ideas don't come when you're forcing them. They come in the shower, on a walk, right before you fall asleep. When you're doing something repetitive and your mind is free to wander, that's not an accident. That's your brain finally switching into the mode where ideas are actually made. So the harder you try to think of something clever, the less access you have to the part of your mind that creates. If you want ideas, you have to stop chasing them. You have to let your mind drift and trust that something will surface when you give it space. Another thing holding you back is the belief that ideas are supposed to arrive fully formed. You think creative people just know what they're going to make, but that's not how it works. Ideas don't arrive complete. They arrive as fragments, half-thoughts, vague feelings, loose connections that don't make sense yet. If you're waiting for the finished idea before you start, you'll wait forever. Most breakthroughs come from collecting these fragments and letting them sit. One thought connects to another. Something you noticed last week suddenly links to something you heard today. But that only happens if you don't throw the fragments away. Most people reject ideas too early. They hear a half-formed thought and dismiss it because it's not impressive. They filter before they explore, and then they wonder why nothing ever comes. Creativity isn't about having perfect ideas. It's about having enough raw material that something eventually clicks. Your brain also can't create if it has nothing to work with. Ideas are made by combining what you've already seen, heard, and experienced. If you only consume one type of content, your ideas will stay trapped in that same pattern. But when you expose yourself to different subjects, different perspectives, different ways of thinking, your brain starts making unexpected connections. The most interesting ideas usually come from crossing boundaries, taking something from one field and applying it to another. Letting yourself be curious about things that don't seem immediately useful. Your brain doesn't know what will matter later, it's just collecting pieces. And then there's time. Some ideas need distance. You've probably noticed that when you walk away from a problem, the solution shows up later on its own. That's not luck. That's your brain working in the background. It keeps processing even when you're not paying attention. But this only works if you actually step away. If you keep forcing yourself to think, you don't give your mind room to breathe. Rest isn't laziness. It's part of the process. Some ideas need space to grow. Finally, there's the pressure to be original, the need to come up with something no one has ever thought of before. And that pressure shuts everything down. Because most meaningful ideas aren't completely new. They're familiar truths, explained clearly, observations that feel obvious once someone finally says them out loud. The ideas that resonate most aren't the clever ones. They're the honest ones. The ones rooted in real experience. The ones that make someone feel understood. And no one else has lived your exact life or noticed the exact things you've noticed. You don't need to invent something revolutionary. You need to pay attention to what feels true to you and describe it without trying to impress anyone. That's where real creativity comes from. You're not uncreative. You've just been using the wrong definition of creativity. It's not about inspiration on demand. It's about letting your mind wander, collecting fragments, feeding your curiosity, and trusting the process. You already have everything you need. You just have to stop judging too early, stop forcing outcomes, and let your brain do what it was designed to do.